welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. I rolled my suitcase quietly across the polished floor of the lobby, the wheels barely whispering against the marble. It was nearly midnight. Returning from my business trip 3 days earlier than planned was a last-minute decision, spurred by the successful conclusion of negotiations. I was eager to surprise my wife, Sarah, who thought I was still in New York. As the elevator ascended to our floor, the familiar mix of excitement and relief at coming home began to settle in. She'll be so surprised, I thought. However, nothing could have prepared me for the surprise awaiting me. Stepping into the dimly lit hallway of our apartment, I paused. The door was ajar. A faint, ominous glow spilled from the gap. My heart raced, a blend of confusion and a sudden, inexplicable dread. Pushing the door open, the smell hit me instantly. Cigarettes. The sharp, acrid scent filled the air, clinging to the chic furniture of our living room. But Sarah never smoked. My pulse quickened as I moved silently through the apartment. The living room was deserted, the television casting a flickering light over the empty couch. Could Sarah have taken up smoking? The thought was ludicrous, yet the evidence was undeniable. I heard a faint sound from the direction of our bedroom. The muffled laughter of a woman, Sarah's laughter, followed by a deeper, unfamiliar male voice. My stomach churned. With every step toward the bedroom, the voices grew clearer, their carefree cadences a stark contrast to the tight knot of betrayal forming in my chest. Peering from the doorway, the sight that greeted me confirmed my worst fears. There on our bed, amidst the tangled sheets, was Sarah with a man I had never seen. They were wrapped in an embrace, lost in their illicit moment. They hadn't noticed me yet. The man's shirt was tossed carelessly over our bedroom chair, his suit jacket hanging from the post of our bed, my side of the bed. Sarah's hair was a wild cascade around her shoulders, a stark deviation from her usual pristine style. Frozen in the doorway, I watched as he whispered something in her ear, eliciting a giggle from her that sliced through me. The room spun slightly as a cold, hard resolve settled over my shock. They remained oblivious to my presence, caught up in their betrayal. Turning quietly, I retreated back into the shadows of the hallway. The rage building within me was cold and sharp. I needed a plan, something cunning and devastating. Revenge would be meticulous and total. As I slipped out the door, the smell of cigarettes seemed to mock me. I knew then that it wouldn't just be a reminder of their betrayal, it would be the herald of their undoing. The cool evening breeze does little to calm my raging thoughts as I pace the sidewalk outside the trendy bistro, Le Jardin. It's here that I had tracked Sarah and her mystery lover after seeing a string of messages light up her forgotten watch at home. Their laughter, still fresh in my memory, fuels my resolve. Inside, the bistro hums with the low buzz of conversation, the clink of glasses, and the subtle notes of a jazz piano in the corner. I spot them almost instantly, nestled in a secluded booth, bathed in the warm glow of an overhead lamp. Her hand rests casually on his, their fingers entwined with an intimacy that makes my blood boil. Pushing the door open, I stride confidently toward their table, my every step measured. The clatter around me dims as my focus narrows on my target. "Sarah, what a surprise," I say, my voice dripping with feigned cheerfulness as I reach their table. They jerk apart, her eyes wide with shock, his with something akin to defiance. "James. You're early." "I didn't expect," Sarah stammers, her words trailing off as her cheeks flush a guilty red. "And you must be the infamous friend Sarah has told me so little about," I continue, turning to the man who now scrambles to his feet, smoothing his crumpled shirt in a nervous gesture. "Mark," he extends his hand, which I ignore, keeping my eyes locked on his. "She mentioned you were out of town." "Yes, quite the fortunate timing on my part," I say, the edge in my voice sharp as a knife. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "No, not at all," Mark replies, though his eyes dart towards Sarah, seeking reassurance. I slide into the booth next to Sarah, forcing her to scoot closer to Mark. "So, what brings you two together on this fine evening?" My tone is light, but the underlying accusation is clear. "We were just catching up," Sarah manages to say, her voice a mix of nervousness and frustration. "Catching up," I repeat, letting the words hang heavily between us. I lean back, observing them both. Mark's hand, previously bold, now hesitates mid-air before retreating. The waitress arrives, breaking the tension momentarily. "Another round for the table?" she asks with a practiced smile. "Actually, yes," I say, giving her a tight-lipped smile. Whatever they're having, I gesture to their nearly full wine glasses, and keep them coming. The evening drags on, with forced conversation that schemes superficially over mundane topics. All the while, I plot silently. Every laugh, every shared glance between them adds fuel to the fire of my planned revenge. As they grow more uncomfortable, I find a twisted satisfaction. Finally, unable to withstand the tension, Sarah stands abruptly. "We should go," she announces, avoiding my gaze. "Yes, perhaps that's best," I agree, standing to face them. After all, we wouldn't want to overstay our welcome, would we? They mumble their goodbyes, and I watch as they hurry out of the bistro, relief evident in their quickened pace. As I sit back down alone, the remnants of their wine casting long shadows on the tablecloth, a smile curls at the edge of my lips. Tonight was just the beginning. My revenge would be slow, deliberate, and by the end, the smell of cigarettes would indeed remind Sarah of me, of this night and many more to come. The morning after the confrontation at Le Jardin, the city awakens under a drab, overcast sky that seems to mirror the turmoil in my heart. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, my laptop open but ignored, as I plot my next move. The coffee beside me grows cold, untouched, as my mind races through various scenarios of revenge. A knock at the door pulls me from my thoughts. I glance at the clock, 9:30 a.m. Too early for visitors, especially unexpected ones. With a deep breath to steady my nerves, I stride to the door and pull it open. Standing in the hallway is Mike, an old friend from college and now a private investigator. His face is grim, his usual easygoing smile absent. "Mike," I greet him, stepping aside to let him in. "What brings you here so early?" He walks in, his eyes scanning the room before settling on me. "James, we need to talk. It's about Sarah." I lead him to the kitchen and gesture for him to sit. "What about her?" My voice is steady, but inside, my heart sinks. "I've been doing some digging," Mike starts, his voice low. "You were right to be suspicious. It's not just Mark. There are others." The revelation hits me like a punch to the gut, but I keep my expression controlled. "Others?" I echo, masking the sharp sting of betrayal with curiosity. Mike nods, pulling out a folder from his bag and placing it on the table. "I've been following her for a couple of weeks now. Mark is just the tip of the iceberg. She's been careful, but not careful enough. Look." He opens the folder to reveal photos and various documents. As I sift through the papers, each piece adds weight to my resolve. Pictures of Sarah with different men at various locations, receipts, and even more damning, messages from her phone that Mike managed to secure through his contacts. "Do you want to know everything?" Mike asks, his voice serious. I look up from the photos, my jaw set. "Everything," I confirm, my voice a whisper of fury. Mike continues, detailing each encounter, the connections between the men, and their frequent meetings. As he speaks, a plan begins to crystallize in my mind. Revenge, yes, but also exposure. I want her to feel the weight of her actions, publicly and painfully. "Thanks, Mike. I needed to know," I say as he finishes. I'll take it from here. He nods, understanding the finality in my voice. Just be careful, James. This could get messy. After Mike leaves, I spend the rest of the day in preparation. By evening, I'm ready. I head to a popular local bar where I know Sarah will be tonight, based on Mike's information. The bar is buzzing with energy when I arrive. I spot Sarah laughing, surrounded by friends and oblivious to the storm about to break. I walk up to her, my approach unnoticed until I'm right beside her. Sarah, I say loudly enough for her friends and the surrounding people to hear. Her laughter dies as she turns to face me, her smile fading into a mask of confusion and fear. James, what are you? I think everyone here should know exactly who you are, I interrupt, my voice carrying across the immediate area. I pull out a stack of photos from my jacket and throw them on the table. They scatter, revealing images of her various liaisons. The crowd around us goes silent, eyes flicking between the photos, Sarah, and me. Sarah's face crumples, her usual composure shattered as she realizes the extent of my knowledge. This is who Sarah really is, I announce, my voice cold and clear. A cheat and a liar. I turn and leave her there, the sounds of whispered shock and Sarah's stifled sobs fading behind me. The game has just begun, and the rules are mine to dictate. As I step out into the night, the first drops of rain begin to fall, washing away the remnants of my former life. The rain pours relentlessly, as if nature itself conspires to cleanse the city of its hidden sins. It's been 2 days since the public shaming at the bar, and the fallout has been immediate and devastating, for Sarah. Her social circle has evaporated, and her reputation is in tatters. As for me, the sweet taste of revenge is turning bitter, the satisfaction I anticipated feeling now hollow and unsatisfying. Tonight, I sit in my dimly lit living room, the only light emanating from the flickering flames in the fireplace. The doorbell rings, slicing through the silence like a sharp knife. Reluctantly, I stand and move toward the door, my steps heavy. I'm not expecting anyone, and part of me dreads who it might be. Opening the door, I'm surprised to see a woman standing there, soaked from the rain, her eyes determined. It's Rebecca, Sarah's sister, whom I haven't seen in years. Rebecca? I say, puzzled. What are you doing here? We need to talk, James. It's about Sarah, she replies, pushing past me into the foyer, not waiting for an invitation in. I close the door and follow her into the living room. What about her? My tone is defensive, the remnants of my anger flaring at the mention of Sarah's name. Rebecca turns to face me, her expression severe. You think you know everything, but you don't. Sarah wasn't just cheating on you. She was protecting you. Her words stop me cold. Protecting me? From what? I scoff, disbelief lacing my voice. From the truth about your past, James. About your parents, Rebecca states, her eyes locking onto mine. What are you talking about? Confusion swirls inside me, mixing with a growing unease. Rebecca takes a deep breath. Your parents weren't who you thought they were. They were involved in criminal activities, money laundering, to be precise. When they died, you were young, and it was covered up to protect you. Sarah found out, and she's been paying off people who threatened to go public with it. The room spins as her words sink in. No, that can't be, my voice trails off, the implications of her revelations dawning on me. Yes, James. And there's more. Mark and the others, they weren't her lovers. They were contacts, people who helped her keep this under wraps. She was meeting with them to negotiate, not to. Rebecca doesn't finish her sentence, but she doesn't have to. Guilt and horror wash over me as the reality of my actions becomes painfully clear. But the pictures, the messages. I ask, desperate for something to cling to, some part of my narrative that still holds. Staged, mostly. Or taken out of context. Sarah did everything to keep this from destroying you. And you destroyed her for it. Rebecca's voice breaks, her disappointment evident. I sink into a chair, my head in my hands. What have I done? The weight of my misguided revenge presses down on me, suffocating. Rebecca's tone softens. She still loves you, James. Despite everything. She's willing to forgive you, if you can forgive her for keeping this from you. Silence hangs heavy in the air as I process her words. After what feels like an eternity, I look up at Rebecca. Where is she? She's waiting at her apartment. Alone, and devastated. But she's there, Rebecca replies, handing me a slip of paper with Sarah's address. The rain has stopped when I step outside, heading toward my car. The fresh, post-rain air fills my lungs, a stark contrast to the suffocating guilt and confusion inside me. As I drive to Sarah, the pieces of our shattered lives both behind and ahead of us, I realize that the road to forgiveness and redemption will be long and painful. But for the first time in days, there's a glimmer of hope, a chance to rebuild, not just to destroy.